Sweet dreams are made of ease. Who am I to disagree? Travel the world in 7 seas. Everybody is looking for something. My old ass singing. Oh well. Welcome to the JB. Sorry. Welcome to the Sabby JB show. I am your host, James Charlotte. So good to see you. I'm one of your hosts. The hostess with the mostest is to my left or to my right, whichever the camera is pointing. But hello, Sabby Sabs, my sister from another mister. How you doing?
What's going on, JB?
You oh, okay, good. All right, look, it's a lot today. I've been stressed out today. Got a lot going on. Got a lot to do. There's so much going on. And then on top of that, just major changes happening soon. So be prepared for that. But yeah, outside of that, that's pretty much it.
Okay, you were freezing a little bit.
Am I freezing?
You're fine now. Do you have extra tabs open?
Just want to make sure.
Okay.
I just closed a few.
Okay.
Yeah, so we should be good. All right, I'll take that one down too. I can take that down. All right, perfect. Now, let's get back to this. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and give a like to the stream. Helps us out very much. Thank you so very much. Also, if you guys have not already, you guys can join our mailing list at revolutionaryblackout.substack.com. Gives you email notifications whenever we go live like this, or if we have any clips uploaded for you guys to watch. And also, if you guys would like to get in touch with us, you guys can always do that through our email at revolutionaryblackout@outlook.com. So you guys have that there. Let's say a couple of hellos, and then we'll get right into this because we don't want to keep you waiting. Like Amanda Priestley said in The Devil Wears Prada, why isn't anybody ready?
I love that movie.
All right, we have GP says Obama. Yeah. She said, by all means, move at a glacial pace. You know how that thrills me. All right, so we have GP coming in saying, Obama, yeah, boy, the Kool-Aid man. Okay. Buihote says, bail out Wall Street, nothing for Main Street deporter-in-chief, drone strike killer, beer summit clown. Yikes. Truth hurts. We have DJ Way and Co. says, lack of perfection. Would having a secret... I'm sorry. We're talking about health. Saying, how did it make things worse, not higher than it didn't work? We got some people that got some things to say in this chat.
Yeah.
We have Austin saying, hopefully we can prevent people from getting treated like property.
Yeah.
We have Zero saying it appears to be taking Miss Sabrina or Mr. Fauntleroy a bit. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know. Things were freezing up for a second, but I think I'm okay now. I think so. We shall press on. And then we also have Kat coming saying, yay, Sabby and JB. We have Kime coming in saying, hey. And then on the Rumble side, we have Chatter X saying Obama is a black mascot of Wall Street. That was from Cornell West. Absolutely. Oh, man. So, you ready to get into this topic, Sabs?
I'm ready.
Oh, I don't know why it keeps freezing. Maybe I need to come out and come back.
Maybe JB.
This is like a delay.
Oh.
All right, I'm gonna come out and come back in. I think there's a delay.
Okie dokie. All right, guys. JB's gonna come right back. He's fixing his connection here. We'll just say shout outs to the chat. Kat said, Ari, the poll, I was born with a pre-existing condition, so that part helped. Yeah, I think that was one of the things with Obamacare. I don't know if you guys have seen this interview that Barack Obama did recently, but there's a couple of moments where he's saying things that we just kind of feel like he could have said a long time ago. Just saying.
Is there a lag anymore? Is there a lag?
Yes. Like you keep freezing. Do you have tabs open?
It's like I do have other tabs, but
I think it's slowing your computer down.
Yeah, that might be what it is. And then I'll take this down too, and then I'll take that down. Okay, I have only the essentials up. That's it.
Okay,
so hopefully it clears up.
Yeah, you're not freezing now.
I'm not freezing. All right. Okay. Fingers, toes, and eyes crossed. All right, people. Let's. All right, guys. Thank you so very much for being patient. So yeah. Sure, I do have high-speed internet, by the way. So yeah.
Yeah, it's
sometimes
a StreamYard
it's not
thing.
That's not the issue. So
it's a StreamYard thing. It really is.
Yeah.
Like with StreamYard is like if you have too many tabs open, it slows down.
Yeah. And also this is a peak time for a lot of people using the internet. So the bandwidth sometimes gets taken up by multiple people within a given area using the internet at the same time. So, but what are we talking about today? Let's get into this because I think it's very important. So we're going to be talking about for what Barack Obama said recently. And he quote said, we're not going to get perfect. And he's talking about Obamacare. And he talks about it, but for a lot of us, Obamacare was a disaster. So we're getting into that right now. Sabs, let me ask you this. When Obamacare took effect, was that something that was very helpful for you, or did it have like no real effect, or did things get worse for you?
So for me, it didn't have an impact because I had health insurance at my job. So I didn't choose to opt in. I do have one friend who had health insurance at their job, but they decided to take a chance with Obamacare and they decided to opt in. And he was just surprised that it was more expensive than he thought it was going to be. So he did give it a chance. But I didn't have to use it because we had health insurance at my job.
Yeah, for me, I was during the entire time I was on Medicare because of my kidney failure, so I didn't have to go through that at all. But I knew a lot of people who had went through Obamacare, and a lot of them they just couldn't afford it, and so unfortunately for them, it was hard for them to be able to afford, and they were going through the marketplace, but even then they had to choose different tiers of medical insurance. And it's like, okay, so then you chose this tier, which means that, yeah, you can afford it, but you had to have come out more for your deductibles and then maybe higher copays. It's all this stuff that's convoluted. And so it wasn't as somebody who had like the gold plated healthcare go pay at healthcare like somebody in Congress would have. And so, as far as my personal experience with it, fortunately, I didn't have to go through that, but I did witness a lot of people did have to go up. So one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to get into this video. Now, a lot of people have shared the clip on almost at TikTok, on Twitter, but I wanted to get the full context of this clip because it's better to get the full context than to just get a clip that has been cut. So we're going to go to the actual stream and we're going to start. Let me see. Where did I start at? I think it was. Okay, we'll start right here. All right. And we shall talk and discuss.
Well, and a couple other, maybe during the Olympics.
A sense of unity, a sense of like people helping each other. Like I believe that what you're talking about, politically in terms of what we spoke about earlier, that people are different and some may have different beliefs, but there was a compromise that could be met, and that tolerance in and of itself is conditional to democracy working.
Forbearance, I think, is the formal term that political science uses. You have to put up with folks.
That's right.
As long as they're not actively hurting you,
right,
you've got to put up with them, and you can battle them, and ultimately it gets sorted out in politics, and the winners get to move their agenda forward, and the losers lick their wounds and come back later.
Yeah,
but there's always that sense of but we're not going to call each other vermin,
right?
But you call each other fascists. You call each other like Nazis. Like,
oh my God! I just wish.
Who is Obama kidding right now?
I just wish Obama would retire. I just wish he would just retire and just. I mean, we don't see George W. Bush coming back to do all these interviews. We don't see Bill Clinton doing all these interviews unless he's writing another book. For the most part, they just, they fade away. Obama will not go away.
Yeah, and he explained that earlier in this podcast where he's like, right when I want to leave, they pull me back. I'm paraphrasing, not even paraphrasing. I'm giving you the spirit of what he said. Whenever I try to leave, they pull me back in. It's like, nah, man, you keep walking back in. That's the problem. You walk back in, and you allow them to keep, wanting your opinion on stuff because apparently you can't leave the presidency. You have to keep your voice in the ether so that you think you matter. Lord. Ego much? Maybe.
We're not going to try to crush you if you lose.
That's right. But
we're not going to target you.
But the brains have been, broken, through exploiting grievance and anger. And, in talking about the left, that the fact that so many decided to not vote out of protest because they didn't feel that the situation in Israel, the ethnic cleansing of Gaza and whatnot was not going to be dealt with by Kamala or however that goes. So you get this protest vote of people not willing.
Wait. We didn't feel it wouldn't be dealt with. We knew it wouldn't be dealt with because it wasn't dealt with either by her or Joe Biden in the prior administration. Like, what the heck is this guy talking about? Oh, we feel? No, we pattern recognition. This is exactly what we are looking at. It's a 1-to-1. So therefore, if you're not doing diddly McGee's acts during your administration, then what makes you think you're gonna continue with and the next administration? You did not have the intestinal fortitude to bring Netanyahu to heel. Hell, even Ronald Reagan even made a call to the Israeli prime minister back in the 80s and was like, hey, man, you need to cut this out. You tell me y'all couldn't do it, and you think, oh, well, we feel.
Yeah, I know, but see, that's how he gets these.
Already getting hot. I gotta turn my fan on.
That's how he gets these interviews, though, right? Like that's why Obama's sitting down with him. Oh my gosh.
I tell you, man, liberals, man, they're like, they feel. No, like you literally are. We literally have a 21st century Holocaust is broadcasted in front of our very eyes. We're seeing dismembered bodies. Like, well, we feel you're not doing enough. No, you're not, because people shouldn't be dying. People shouldn't even be displaced like that. This is the crazy. Oh my gosh. I promise. I'll be good. I'll be good. I'll let it continue. I'll let it continue.
To make a compromise for what you used to talk about as the incremental progress.
Yeah. Well, and look, that's the thing that I spend a lot of time talking to younger leaders about this.
Yeah.
And there's no simple solution to it, but I will say that part of what a liberal democracy requires is an acceptance of partial victory.
Right.
When I was in the White House, I'd sit around on any issue with my cabinet or my staff, senior staff, and we'd go around analyzing everything. And at some point, I'd say, all right, I think I've got all the information. If we do X, is this going to make things better? Because, and I'd tell them, better's good.
Yeah.
We're not going to get to perfect.
Right.
If you're telling me that the Affordable Care Act is going to insure 50 million people, do I think that's better than if we were starting from scratch and I could get a single payer plan instituted and get that through Congress, and suddenly we had universal health care and we had taken the profit motive out of, do I think that would probably be a smarter way to do it? Absolutely.
Right.
But since I can't do that,
Yeah.
I don't have the votes for that. How about this?
Yeah. We can make it better.
We can make it better.
Right.
And you know, this sense that things aren't worth it unless we get everything we want, I think is either a recipe for disappointment in a democracy, but also maybe in life, or it leads to this weird cynicism where you just withdraw entirely.
That's
Hang on. When Obama, please, Sabs, I'm gonna let you go first, please. What
Yeah,
did he miss? Because I think it's glaring.
So a couple of things. First and foremost, he says that he didn't have like the votes, right? So even Ro Khanna said that Barack Obama could have abolished the filibuster. He would have been able to accomplish codifying Roe v. Wade with that. And he would have been able to push forward like a single pay. See what I'm saying? So even Ro Khanna acknowledged that Barack Obama should have abolished the filibuster. He keeps talking about votes, right? He put a lot of blame on Joe Lieberman, but if he would have abolished the filibuster, then that gets you out of that situation, right? So that's the thing. And Obama's not stupid. He knows what he could have done. The other thing is here, it's not about getting every single thing that you want. It's about the things that are obviously necessities. And I don't say healthcare is a human right anymore, because when people hear that, some people look at that and they say, well, no, it's not a right because it's something that has to be paid for. It costs money. So a lot of times people look at rights as like freedom of speech or something like that, right? That doesn't cost money. I say healthcare is a necessity. Healthcare is life. Healthcare could mean the difference between someone living and someone dying. And that's a reality. So That is very, very important. And it's something that
Yeah.
Barack Obama ran on. He's acting like people are critical about these issues because they just wanted them and he never said he was going. No, you ran on these things. You were the one that said hope and change and all these types of things, right? So I
Yeah.
don't understand. I don't understand what he's talking about here.
So when he talks about you never get every Rubicon, that's because I want that doesn't mean I'm going to get it. But what I need is universal health care. And there's a difference. And the problem is that he's trying to operate within a system that is not conducive for people all having a dignified existence. And so he's like, oh, we got to compromise. And it's like, compromise on what? Why are we compromising on human rights? Why do we have to compromise on dignity for all people? Why should we have to compromise on that? I can compromise on pineapple on pizza, but I damn sure will not compromise on whether you feel that my existence is valid or not, or whether I deserve to have health care, which is a part of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, look, there are a lot of educated fools, and I feel like we're looking at one because he's sitting there talking about, oh, you guys can't always get what you want. It's like, it's not about getting what we want. It's about getting what we need. That's like saying, well, I can't breathe. Well, you can't always get what you want. At least you got water. At least you got the sun in the air. But I need air to breathe. What the heck are you talking about?
Well, I have to add here
Like,
for a second. When you
is this guy
said
for real? Is this what we were impressed by in 2008?
When you said compromise, he expects us to compromise because he did.
Well, you can get the hell out of here with that one. I'm not compromising.
That's part of what happened to too many of our folks. I think we just then that justifies doing nothing. It's interesting. I had a conversation with Malia, my daughter.
Hang on. He said, if we can't get everything, that justifies us doing nothing. Who said that we were doing nothing? And what does he mean by doing nothing? What do you mean, why not voting for him and his party?
But that is a partisan talking point, right? Like a lot of people say that to make it seem like that's the only thing that you can do is go out and vote for him or vote for somebody, right? Forgetting about the things, and I say forgetting because Obama's well aware of organizing outside of electoral politics because he did so before he was a politician. So that is basically erasing all the work that happens outside of the political system, all the activism that happens outside the political system, mutual aid, people helping each other within their communities, which is building dual power, which Barack Obama is also well aware of. But he's a puppet. And people realize they sign up for this for life. If Barack Obama were to take a stand today and tell people the real deal, Barack Obama would be wiped out of these social circles. If there was damning information about him, it would probably be revealed. I think you know what I'm talking about. So these people are puppets. They're puppets of the establishment. They're puppets of Wall Street. They're puppets of the deep state. They are not going to change their position because they know what will happen if they do. And so again, it's one of those things that makes you wonder, what do they have on Obama? Like I said, I don't see Bill Clinton coming out here doing all these damn interviews 24/7 after he has retired. I don't see George W. Bush doing all these damn interviews 24/7 after he retired. Obama is the only one. And so I know a lot of times we've said, like, what do they have on people? People need to ask, what do they have on Obama? Why does he keep coming out like, you know what I'm saying? It's just really weird to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into this conversation that he had with his daughter regarding this as well. I want to get into this.
And that justifies doing nothing. It's interesting. I had a conversation with Malia, my daughter.
Yeah.
It was probably 3-4 years ago. And she was saying to me, Dad, I'm talking to a bunch of my friends and this climate change thing,
yeah.
Everybody just feels like it's hopeless now. It looks like, we just keep on throwing this crud into the air. People aren't listening to science. And we're going to blow through these targets that the scientists tell us, if we don't keep it at 2% Celsius increase, we're going to have these catastrophes, and it doesn't seem like there's any chance for us to do it. So a bunch of my friends now say, what's the point?
Right.
Like, it's too late. So what should I tell them? And I said, well, you know what? It's true that we probably will blow through this target because it's really hard for humans. It's never been done before to completely re-engineer our energy sources in one generation.
Yeah.
And there's greed and profit motives and just getting people organized and legacy systems. It's hard, but actually.
Hang on. Where does the greed and profit motive come from, though?
Mm-hmm. He's not going to say that. He's not going to.
If isn't that the biggest issue? Shouldn't we be trying to change the system for that?
Mm-mm-mm.
All right, let's continue.
We're making some progress. I said, if we're able to stop the increase at 2.5 instead of 3, there'll still be and wildfires and some bad stuff will happen. But you know what? That half a centigrade difference, that could be that could make a difference in a billion people's lives.
Right. Totally.
So I told her, I said, you tell your friends, well, that's worth working for.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that we won't have some really serious problems because of climate change.
But that's the reality.
But that's the reality. But you know what? That 0.5% difference, that could be what happens in Bangladesh, where hundreds of thousands or millions of people can eat instead of not eat.
Yeah.
It could affect whether or not people can make a living where they live, as opposed to trying to cross the oceans to migrate to places where they can, and all the political conflicts that come with that. That mentality of understanding we should be doing better than we're doing.
Yeah.
It's a shame that we're stuck with
Capitalism.
This crazy, short-sighted approach to climate. But let's see what we can get done. Have to carry with us.
Well, I think what you were talking.
So I'm just going to say the thing is, look, he basically telling everybody that, yeah, some people might die, but it'll be, so here's the thing. When it comes to the climate issue, right? I've heard this my whole life. When I was a kid, they used to call it global warming. We used to have like an Earth Day celebration that we did at school and all this types of stuff. So they've been teaching us about the climate stuff for a long time. I don't know why people are acting like this is a new thing, right? But what is interesting here is that Obama is not going to admit that under the Biden administration, Biden allowed more drilling permits in Alaska, on indigenous land, also off the coast of Texas,
Mhm.
which we reported on. We talked about it here on RBN.
Mhm.
So it's like, yeah, did Biden go as far
Mhm.
as like Trump with the climate change stuff? Like, no, like he didn't go as far as Trump. But the problem is that both parties are still allowing drilling because they also have capitulated to big oil. And that's a big part of it. So he's not going to say capitalism. He knows what it is. He knows what it is. He knows all this stuff.
Mhm.
If you go read about Obama and how he was as a person, as an activist, way before he even ran for office, it's like night and day. Completely different person. So he knows the problems, just like he knows the problem with Israel and Gaza, just like which he talked about way back then. So he knows, but he decided to basically become a part of the same corrupt system that he complained about back when he was a college student. So this is a big part of the problem. I told you guys before, they get people who a lot of times are activists or organizers and basically offer them a better, cushy life. And it's true. Barack Obama has a mansion in Martha's Vineyard. That's one of his homes,
Mhm.
one of them. So he's living really well. And honestly, when it comes to the climate change issue, it's
Mhm.
not going to impact him. Like, and that's the thing. Like, and rich people, older people who may not be alive, when these things happen, but rich people who have the money and the resources, they can always move to a place where they will not be affected by the impact of climate. Why do you guys think all these billionaires have bunkers? They're prepared for when this day comes, whether it's nuclear war or whether it's, the climate catastrophe. They're
Yep.
ready for that. So they'll all be protected. It'll be, once again, the workers, the lower, those of us that are the 99%, we are the ones that are going to be affected by these things and impacted. He knows that too.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, and this is basically a long-winded way of saying, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. And I'm like, bro, this ain't even good. What the heck are you talking about? Like, so yeah, a few people got insurance, right? But they're also further in debt because of these insurance corporations. And on top of that, the cost of living is so high now that people can barely afford healthcare. And might I remind everybody that when Obamacare first rolled out, it was a law that you had to have health insurance. If not, you'll face a penalty. So that was a class issue. Wealthy people didn't have to worry about that. And so it was totally against the working class. And then he talks about, well, the other side may win and then we may lose and then we may lick our wounds and then, fight another day. I'm like, wait a minute. We as the people, we can't fight another day. And also, you actually took the opposition's healthcare plan and put it on as your own. I don't know, man.
The amount of
This
people in
guy
this
is
country,
extremely.
the amount of people in this country that have medical debt continues to grow, right? So the Obamacare thing, and it came from my state. It came from Massachusetts. It was called Romney Care here in Massachusetts. And Romney Care, which is now, I think they call it now Mass Health or whatever, that doesn't cover everybody here. So some people have this, they have this misconception. They think that everyone in Massachusetts has health care. That's not true. There are restrictions for it. So you have to be within a certain income bracket to qualify for it. So if you don't meet that income bracket, you can't apply for Mass Health, which is, was Romney Care. So no, everybody in Massachusetts does not have health care. But that's where it came from. And so to that point, he took a Republican plan. This was a part of the Heritage Foundation. I don't know if everybody knows that. Romney Care was a part of the Heritage Foundation, the same Heritage Foundation that the Democrats rail against. Yep. So he took a Republican health plan and sold this to Democrats. And people should have, everyone's not politically engaged, but obviously a Republican health plan is not going to cover everybody because they don't believe in that. So that's the big thing, right? Like, he took the moderate approach is the point that I'm trying to get across, instead of taking the left approach. So even in 2025, there's no reason why anyone in this country should not have health care. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, the moderate approach doesn't help everybody. So therefore, some people are going to die. Like, we have to be blunt about this. It's like, well, some people are going to die. So it sucks to be you. But the problem is that the people who are going to pass away because they do not have adequate health care are the people that don't have the money. And the people that do have the money are the reason why we don't have healthcare for everybody. So my favorite quote is, if a flower doesn't bloom, you change the environment in which the flower grows, not the flower. It sounds to me like we got to change the environment instead of switching out the flowers. But the problem is, Obama's over here saying, well, some of y'all are going to have to die. I'm sorry, but at least some of y'all live. Look, this is the whole somebody being stabbed in the back 9 inches, and then you pull it out 2 inches, but you still got 6 inches in your back.
Yep.
That's what this is. It's like, oh, well, we pulled out 2 inches. That's progress. Like, no. This is some asinine, demented thinking that somebody who is as educated as he is, as educated as Barack Obama is, he should be able to understand that that is a full-hearted approach. And the only reason why he takes that approach is because he's willing to play within a system that is okay with exploiting people. And if you are unexploitable, that means you are marked for death. That's what it means, because that means to them, you are not deserving of life. That's what it means.
Bingo.
And this is the problem with capitalism, because it sees human life as in hierarchies. It sees that different values. And the problem is that people who believe in this system, like Barack Obama, also believe the same thing, but he doesn't want you to know it. So he goes, because he's trying to find the words to capitulate to you to make you think that he actually cares about you. But he don't, because he's not being truthful. He's not being honest. He is a wonderful liar. What did Amanda Seales say to you a few weeks ago? She said that politicians are basically failed actors. They couldn't make it in acting, so they became politicians. Bingo, here you go.
Yep.
God, this is what frustrates me. And the fact is that people are like, oh my goodness, well, he's making sense. And I'm like, yeah. If you're brainwashed by the system, he makes sense. But when you put actual humanity within your brain and think, oh man, all life is precious. So therefore, if all life is precious, that means we should have universal health care for everybody. Then it's a no-brainer. Then you look at this guy, it's like, he's a dunce.
But this is the same guy who bombed people in Libya, who bombed all those kids in Libya. So what remember what he said back then? He said, yeah, we tortured some folks. Well, some people just had to die. Sorry.
True.
So see that's the mentality is like, well, yeah, unfortunately, there's going to be casualties. That tells you that no, they don't believe that every life is precious. They don't. You know, and that's the point I want to drive home is that when you look at the US government's actions abroad, we cannot be surprised at the way they treat us here at home. Why would they think that all of our lives are precious and that everybody needs to have health care? Why would they think that way when they don't even consider when they're bombing all these people abroad? So they don't care. They'll bomb us too. If you look back in history and look at some of the things that have happened, like look at what happened in Philadelphia.
I mean, hello, move bombing.
Yeah, look at what happened in Philadelphia where they bombed an entire freaking block. They don't care. They don't care. And it
was in 1985 before our first birthday.
Right. In the 80s, they bombed a block in Philadelphia where people lived. They don't care. They don't care. So the lower your income, they see you as more disposable. They just really don't. If you're not at the tippity top of that ladder, they're not really trying to hear what you got to say. And that's why, and people need to hear this, that is why, if you notice, if the Democrats were really trying to win in 2024, they would have gone to as many outlets as possible, not just corporate media. That's why you don't see them go into the low-income neighborhoods. They don't. Don't tell me that they do, because I'm here on the ground. They don't. That's why they don't go into the low-income neighborhoods. They see those people as disposable. They're like, oh, I don't need their vote anyway. They'll go to the colleges, but they don't go into the low-income neighborhoods. And then they wonder why the majority of Americans don't vote. It's those types of things. They weren't even willing to go into independent media space. They weren't even willing to get like that. Like that's the whole thing. When Kamala Harris wasn't even willing to go on Breaking Points, and this is what Crystal and Sagar said, they invited her on there. She wasn't even willing to go on Breaking Points, and Crystal was supporting her. That tell you everything you need to know. They don't want to go into spaces where they're going to be called out on their BS. They don't want to go into spaces where they are not going to be comfortable. And that's how we end up in the situation that we're in today.
Yep, absolutely. And it's so bad to the point where now they have to do subsidies for Obamacare. Let's take a look at this. This is an article that came out recently. So Senator John Thune says he reveals to MSNBC he's offered Democrats a vote on Obamacare subsidies. We can guarantee you a vote by date certain. So let's take a look here. Says in a wide-ranging sit-down interview with MSNBC, Senate Majority Leader John Thune said Wednesday night that he has privately told Democratic leaders that if they need a vote on extending Obamacare subsidies in exchange for opening the government, he's willing to make the deal. We can guarantee you get a vote by a date certain. At some point, Democrats will have to take yes for an answer. And his most direct comments yet about giving Democrats some type of assurances to end the shutdown, Thune suggests he supported extending the subsidies if they included reforms. He asked whether just guaranteeing a negotiation over expiring Affordable Care Act subsidies, which Democrats have said isn't good enough for them to support the Republican funding bill. Thune said there's a path forward, I believe. And so we actually have to have subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. But why would we have to have subsidies if it's affordable?
Because it's not affordable. It's just like the affordable
So,
housing units that we supposedly have here in Boston that are actually not affordable. That's because it's not really, that word gets thrown around a lot. So again, whenever you hear affordable plan, affordable housing, look at the cost and ask
yes.
affordable for who?
Yes. Affordable is subjective, right? For for Elon Musk or for somebody like Jeff Bezos, a Bugatti is affordable.
Yeah.
Is it affordable for you or me? Hell no. Hell no. No. So the thing is, when people talk about, oh, we're looking to make healthcare more affordable, you know what the most affordable rate? That's affordable.
Oh, I think you cut out for a second,
But
JB.
that would mean that you have to have, at the very least, a single parent healthcare system.
I think you cut out for a minute. If you want
I
to say what
did.
you just said. Yeah.
So I was basically saying that, yeah. So what's the most affordable for 100% of people? It is free at the point of service. And so if that is the case, then if you make it free at the point of service for everybody, then but what is that? Who does that threaten? That's not going to threaten you or me. That's going to threaten the Brian Thompsons of the world. You know what I mean? It's going to threaten the people who are over Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Aetna, United Healthcare, all these different Humana. It's going to threaten all these guys. But the thing is do we really need these middlemen to tell us what we can and can't have in regards to our health? That should be between a doctor and a patient, right?
It should be, but see,
So,
this is the, let me just
I
put
don't know,
this up
man.
here. Brian, the 2,500 a month affordable housing. Yeah, like that's what I'm talking about. And they are very slick because what they do is they say, well, we take the average income in the area and that's what we use to decide what the price of affordable housing is going to be. But if you don't have time to look into the details of how they come to that number, then you're not going to know. It's not just, so if you have affordable housing in Orlando or affordable housing in Boston, right? They're not just looking at Boston and Orlando. They take the average income of what they consider to be that entire metropolitan area, which would include some of the wealthy towns. Because, see, they're still going to make sure that developers get their cut at the end of the day. Because if you actually looked at what the average income was just in Boston, just in Orlando, or just in, let's say, Memphis, Tennessee, or something like that, then the cost of the housing for affordable housing is going to be significantly lower. But then that means that, of course, these developers are not going to get their share. So that's why they actually take that entire metropolitan area. In Boston, for example, the metropolitan area extends into New Hampshire. So they look at all of that. And that's why affordable housing isn't actually affordable. And that word, like I said, that word just gets thrown around a lot. And people hear the word affordable and they say, oh, okay, well, this is, for people lower income. But then when you look at the actual prices, you realize that it's not. There's affordable housing units in Boston that are like $4,000 a month. I don't know anybody that can pay $4,000 a month for an apartment. And that includes people who I know who are professionals. I have a friend right now who's a professional. They continue to go up on her rent. And she's already talking about like she may have to move because it's ridiculous. Then another thing, there needs to be some type of, I don't know if we want to call it grandfather clause or some type of good behavior, right? Like, so if you have rented the same apartment for X number of years, I don't think they should be able to increase your rent. That's my take. Why are we increasing
That
the
part.
rent for people who have lived in the same apartment for 5, 10 years?
Mhm.
Why?
I was living in the same apartment for almost 11 years until they kicked me out because they wanted to renovate, and then rent to somebody else for a higher amount. That's
And
why I'm no longer there.
that's what's been happening. And that's the thing. And then
You
you have these developers come in, they buy an entire apartment building from a landlord. The landlord sells it because they want the money. And then developer comes in and they say, yeah, we're going to build these affordable housing units. Ends up being another luxury condo building. And I have to tell people something else too. A lot of these affordable housing buildings, at least particularly in Boston, are empty because people can't afford to live there. They keep building all this stuff that people can't afford to live. And then you have like the luxury condos. A lot of times what ends up happening is that you have investors that will buy like a number of those condos in that building, and then they'll rent them out if they can. But then the people who end up renting tend to be college students, so they're only there for a short time anyway. There's so much like that goes into this that like they just continue to screw working class people over. And this is why, like JB and I continue to say, the only way out of this is building dual power. Politicians are going to come and go. And I understand that in some circumstances, you're like, listen, I don't want to get this person. I understand where people are coming from with that. At the same time, you should look at electoral politics as a tool in your toolbox, but it's not the only tool. And so when I say the 80-20 rule, 80% direct action,
That is a
mutual
minor.
aid, building dual power, 20% electoral politics. No, because you don't know when people are running
Yeah.
for office, they are going to
You
tell you
mentioned
what you want to hear
about
to win.
yeah, they do. I'm going to share this about averages. So I went into DeepSeek and I was like, okay, so when they talk about what's affordable, they take the average rent, or they may take the average income. So I took an income that somebody can easily make here in Orlando versus somebody who is, hell, even this is right. So I asked DeepSeek, I said, what is the average income between someone who makes $2 million per year versus someone who makes $50,000 per year? Here's what DeepSeek says. It says, let's calculate the average or mean income for these two people. Step one, add the two incomes together. So now, step two, divide the number of people. You divide it by two. So 2,050,000 divided by 2 is 1,025,000. Step 3, state the result. The average income is $1,025,000. So if I was living in a community of 2 people and we wanted to get the average income of both of those people, that means that the average income would be $1,025,000, not taking into account the fact that one person makes $2 million and the other person makes only $50,000. So when you're talking about, the average income or the average rent, that is actually a foolish way of doing things. Like if you really wanted to be more accurate in your averages, I would cut out a huge chunk of high income earners. If I, for instance, wanted to say, okay, so we want to fund low income housing that's affordable. Anybody who makes above $120,000 in a given area, you are not being counted. Anybody who makes $119,000 and below, then we will count that average out. But that's the problem. They also count in all the people who are either middle income, which is above 120,000. And you notice I said 120,000. I didn't say 100,000 because even 100,000 is still working class. That's still working class. So therefore, you would have to go from middle class. You have to go above 120,000. Some people say maybe 160,000, but I'm being generous. And so then now you have all these people who be paying as far as what's affordable, but they don't even do that. And so, and even the poverty line is incongruent, because they'll be like, oh, the federal poverty line is here, but the problem is that it should be raised way higher than what it is, but they never want to fix it. Why don't they want to fix it? Because then that means that you would have to take more from the super wealthy. And they don't want that.
But see, that's a good point that you brought up there, JB, about the income that's actually calculated in, because when they include all those wealthy people, it makes it appear as though people are making more than they actually are. And that's on purpose. Like, really, like, we have over 200,000 millionaires that live in Massachusetts. They're included in our average income. Over 200,000. New York City has more. Average person living in New York struggles with the rent. It's one of the big concerns I hear. I lived in New York. I have friends that live in New York. Like, biggest concern, rent. So, and rent increased 3 times under Eric Adams, from what I understand. So, I mean, it just, so look, if you look at the things that happened like during the pandemic, they basically showed us what they were able to do. Like, cutting child poverty in half. Number one, it should have been all of it, not in half. We shouldn't have child poverty in the United States, but we do, because money goes to other things, right? Like the military industrial complex. So we should not have that, right? But if they could cut child poverty during the pandemic, they could have done that at any time. It shouldn't take a pandemic for you to say, let's feed the children. 2, if you look at some of the other things that happened, like during the pandemic, where all of a sudden a lot of these companies were like, okay, we're going to let you guys work from home. I mean, if your job is solely on your computer, like, especially like if you're social media, like analyst or something like that, or software engineer or whatever, they could have did that a long time ago. Why do you have all these office spaces, being utilized? Because that's just more money that goes to those developers. This is what I'm saying. So give people that option. If they wanted to work from home, they should be able to do that. I think that should happen regardless of a pandemic. So there's that. One of the things that they did here is they were like, okay, we're not going to charge people for public transportation during this time period. Could have been doing that. So they showed you what they could do. And it shouldn't take a pandemic for that to happen. Now you guys know that they can do those things. So all of this, that whole excuse of, we don't have the money, or how are you going to pay for it? They showed you during the pandemic how they pay for it. So they could have done it anytime, in any time. And then what was really sad is then they cut the child tax credit. They cut that short. So that didn't even last the whole time. And that was a mistake, I think, from the Biden administration, because a lot of people remembered that when they went to vote in 2024. It's not just Gaza. So these are the type of things. When Biden was in office, he had the opportunity to expand Obama. Remember, he said he was going to expand Obamacare. Then next thing you know, years go by and he goes, I promise I'll expand it if you reelect me. And that's how they just keep you coming back. It's such a trick of, I'll do it next time. You could done it right then, right now. One thing that Donald Trump showed is how much they can do in a short period of time. How much they can do in a short period of time. They could have done these things. Obama complains like, I didn't have the votes. No, but you could have abolished the filibuster, and you had the Senate and the House the first 2 years of your presidency, which basically has become, to me, at least what the Democrats have shown, first 2 years of the presidency means they ain't really going to do nothing. I guess that's just like their waiting period. They let that time go by. Whenever they have the House and the Senate and they have that majority, they don't use it to their advantage because they don't really want to get anything done, because the people and the companies that they get money from and they get support from don't want things to happen. Anytime you got companies lobbying legislation in Congress, you know what the deal is. So this is why I say anybody that you try to pick, this person's going to be different than that one, this was going to be different than that one, you cannot put all your hope and faith in this one politician. You should be using that time to organize within your community and protect your community. And that means you may have to get out the house. That means you may have to get off Twitter, get off social media for a couple of hours and go organize with people and get to know your neighbors. JB and I do that. Yeah, you see us on YouTube, but you don't see us on here all the damn time. You don't see us streaming all the time. So that's a big part of the problem. So all this whole waiting period, and I just don't get this. Elections come and go. What are people doing during the off seasons when there's no election? So people should be building community and organizing and doing mutual aid and building dual power, regardless if it is election season or not. That is why, like for me and JB, you don't see us get that same type of disappointment, and we have before, but you don't see us feel that kind of way no more because we organize locally. So I would have thought the pandemic really would have woken people up to this, that we really do need each other. We really have to support each other. We can't rely on politicians to, when people ran out of toilet paper, when people were like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get food because they said we can't leave the house, or we can only go to the grocery store this time of day. Like that was when you needed people in the community, and people should have been there for each other. But they got everybody spending so much time like on their phones, on social media, that people don't even build community anymore. So that's a big part of the problem. That's a big part of it. And people, and there was a time when things were different. My parents lived in this, when my parents were my age or when they were younger, things were different. They knew everybody in the neighborhood. You couldn't get in trouble. If my parents, if you were a kid and you got in trouble, before you got home, your mom would have already known, because that's how tight the community was. So that's what's missing. And that's what I'm trying to tell people. Everybody afraid of each other.
Some neighbors respect you.
This person, I don't want to talk to that person. Like, that's the part that's missing. It did used to be different. How many of you remember when you could just go to your friend's house and ring the doorbell or knock on the door and say, can so-and-so come outside to play? How many of you remember that? Nowadays, it's like you got to text someone and say, can I call? Can I come by?
Sabby, we do that to each other.
I'm telling you, like, I don't see like, and then I don't know, but maybe you guys can tell me, how often do you see kids playing outside? I don't see playgrounds. What happened to all the playgrounds? Everybody inside playing video games. And we didn't grow up that way. Like, yeah, we have video games, but we also went outside. And I just feel like that's the piece that's missing. You used to have to beg us to come in the house. Like when we went outside to play, my parents had to
skip it.
Yeah, my parents had to beg me to come home. Come home, get back inside the house. But now, you know, whether it's video games, and it's not to say you can't play these things, but I'm just saying moderation is key. Like you got to get out within the community. And it's really weird that like now, like people just don't, people tell you, I don't know who my neighbors are. I don't know who, you know, it's strange.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, and even then when you went outside and played, your parents would complain when you came in. Like, I don't know if you remember that.
If it's funny, if you came home too soon before dinner was ready, go back outside. I'm trying to clean the house. And if you didn't come home by the time dinner was ready, they would tell you, girl, come in this house. You know it's time. Yeah, so that's the thing.
Mhm.
See, people remember.
You better be on when the street light come on.
Yes. 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 I mean, even the phone, even
Yep.
some people don't even want to talk to people on the phone. Like you used to have to beg
Mhm.
me to get off the phone with my friends. So I don't know, man. Like you gotta be, I don't know, maybe model communities are the way to go. Maybe like these communities, like these little small, I don't know, like planned communities where they are building community in a different way, where they have like the school there, they have like their own little grocery store all within like the little, subdivision or whatever. I don't know. Maybe that's the way to go. I don't know. But I do just feel like it's too much time is
Yeah.
spent in the wrong place.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And this whole thing with Obama, just trying to make excuses for half of half measures. Like, if somebody's starving and if I give them crumbs, is that going to keep them alive? I mean, it might prolong them slightly, but they're eventually still going to die. The problem is that we got to stop accepting crumbs. And what Obama is also saying is that he's going by the Ratchet effect. Well, we went further to the right, but we didn't go that far to the right, so we prevented it. But then we'll go even further than that, and then they'll say, well, we didn't go all the way, but you went further than you did last time. And so there needs to be a full reversal. This is why, honestly, somebody like Obama is like detrimental, because he's like, it's like the boiling frog example, right? He's trying to prevent somebody from turning the heat all the way up. So he's like, okay, we'll just turn it up just a little bit. All right, we'll compromise. We'll turn it up just a little bit. But then the other person comes along and they're not allowed to turn it down. They can only turn it up, but a little bit. Because they're trying to prevent us going all the way up. But then they turn it up a little bit. And then the next person comes along, who's a Democrat, and goes, well, we don't want to turn it all the way up because that's dangerous. So we don't want them to turn it all the way up. So we'll turn it up just a little bit. We're compromising. And then they turn it up. By the end of the day, by the time you look, you are already at all the way high. And you're boiling. And you're dead. Because you allowed them to keep turning it out of a compromise on human rights. This is not this isn't, oh, well, we want to build a high-speed rail system. What color should we make the trains? Something that's not actually going to affect the lives of people. We're actually talking about real, tangible things that is literally going to affect the very lives of people, whether they live or die. And some people are just going to have to die. Now,
and as a result, this country keeps moving
like you
further.
were saying, Sabs.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh,
Absolutely.
I just wanted to
let me share this as well, because you were talking about how we are.
I just wanted to show people the picture.
Sorry?
I wanted to show people the picture so they can see it. The Ratchet effect.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry guys. JB has a delay, but I just want to show you guys this so that people can see it. You can see what I'm talking about. So this is what they do. Like, and someone shared this on Reddit. Let me see if I can make it. Okay, there we go. Look at this. The Ratchet effect. How you are being duped by the fake two-party system. Democrats block movement back to the left. Republicans turn everything to the right. So here's the ratchet right here. So that's what JB is talking about. That's what happens. They continue. Both parties prevent
Mhm.
things from actually moving to the left because Democrats are not left, despite what people may tell you. So, but this is what happens, right? This is why Democrats, they will fight harder against like Zoran. They fought harder against Bernie than they do against some of these Republicans, right? Because ultimately, even someone like Trump, ultimately the Republicans are going to maintain that status quo. They're going to protect corporate interests and Wall Street, et cetera. And the Democratic as a party also protects those things. So they would rather have a Republican win to maintain that corporate influence instead of moving all the way to the left so that we can actually have policies that benefit working class people. That's what it is. And so what ends up happening ultimately, though, and that's how we got back here with Donald Trump again, is that this country ends up moving further to the right. That's why Trump is back in office. When Democrats don't come through for the working class people, it's like a boomerang effect. People are like, F this, I'm going to vote for the Republicans this time around. And people will bounce back and forth between the two. A lot of times it comes down to the independent voters. So the Democratic Party, instead of trying to put forth those policies and run on those policies that would benefit the working class, they would rather it all just move to the right. And that's how you end up with Donald Trump in office yet again.
Absolutely. But is all is lost? See, here's the thing. There are solutions to talk about. It's not all is lost. We know what the problem is. Now we have to get to work on the solutions. With people like myself, Sabby, Roman, Nick, what we talk about is mutual aid. But the question is, how do we do it? How do we change the system fundamentally by building dual power? What is dual power? These things are really good questions. And this is why it is important for us to do what we can to each one teach one, right? I want to give a shout out in my flowers to my sister, Sabby Sabs, because she's been doing a mutual aid workshop. And this is going to be the next one that's happening. She says, yes, people are crowdfunding for groceries. This is a story that I want to cover later on another stream. But she said, this is another reason why mutual aid is important. Politicians are not going to save us. We must build dual power. I'm hosting my monthly mutual aid workshop on October 25th. It's free. Come join us. So look, there's a mutual aid workshop. I'm going to be there. All right. So look, come through, pull up, get yourself a notepad and a pen, or start typing, because we got things we got to do. We have to actually change this system ourselves. If you want to see a hero, you better look in the damn mirror, because we are it. And so this is what needs to happen. There are solutions. We can liberate ourselves, but it has to happen by our hand. We can't depend on this hero syndrome where it's like, oh, well, we need a hero. No. This ain't no song. This ain't no, I need a hero. No, we learn what the revolutionaries of the past did and imitate it, because that's what made them so successful. And we need to do this en masse. And we can do this. You have the power to do it. And like Rome always says, everybody got a place in the revolution, baby. That is true. Truer words have never been spoken. This is why it's so important. And so, by the way, Sabs, I got to give you your flowers. I am very proud of you. So I can't wait to be there to join you.
Thanks, JB. Yeah, guys, this is what we got to do, right? So, I've been hosting monthly mutual aid workshops on top of every other thing that I do. I'm a very busy person. And I can tell you, after the first workshop that I hosted, there was one woman who had already, like, she got up and running pretty quickly. pretty quickly with a couple of her friends, and they had already hosted, like it was fast. Like they had already hosted like the back to school event and things like that in her state. So it does require you getting out of the house. Like that's the thing, right? So I think that this is what we wanted to do. Like as a part of RBN, one of the big things we wanted to push is we wanted to encourage people to start mutual aid organizations, or it doesn't have to be this fancy org. Could just be you and a couple friends to start these things where you are, right? So like, yeah, we do it where we live, but get together with your friends and or your family members and start doing these types of events. If you're very, let's say you're great with math, or let's say finance, right? There are people that don't know how to file taxes. There are people who don't know what credit is and what credit means. If you know those things, volunteer to teach people those things for free. It's things like that that are really going to help people. Food and clothing drives, right? I have another one coming up in December. Food and clothing drives. And you may think, well, I don't have anything. Take some time and look around your apartment, look around your house and see. I'm pretty sure there are things there that maybe you've had for a while and you don't use anymore that you can donate to people. So it's just this is what I'm saying, man. Like, is there anybody in your community that needs a babysitter, but they can't afford to pay for one, or they can't afford daycare? So this is why this is what we wanted to do, like with RBN, is to encourage other people to get out there and start on mutual aid, and don't put 80% of your time in electoral politics. And I know, and it's one of the things I know, I told JB before, that we endorsed like Jill Stein when she ran for president and stuff like that. But going forward, especially as someone as a commentator and things like this in this space, I don't know that I would be endorsing another politician, right? Because I think that for me, it is really important to be able to critique them whenever I want, to call them out on their bullshit. Because you're right, they're not perfect. None of these politicians are going to be perfect. So that's where, where I'm at. But to get people to focus more on what they can do within their communities. Otherwise, I mean, it's a slow train wreck. You're just sitting around waiting for the next election. And then they get your hope up about this person and then get your hope up about that person. And I think what people don't understand is that until this system is no longer corrupt, bought by corporate money, big money, these things are going to change. That's why you see both administrations let a damn genocide happen. So it just, this whole idea of all we have to do is just get a different person. No, it's like when the education reforms happen in the school systems and they were like, well, we just need to replace these teachers with other ones. None of that matters if the schools don't have resources. So you end up running into the same issue again. So that's the big part of it. Focus on what you can do locally, guys. Organize within your community. And I think that's where you're going to find a lot of that joy. That's where you're going to get that, right? And electoral politics on the national level, there's not much we can do about that. They're really, once they're in, they're in. And I mean, Congress, they vote for legislation.
Yep.
We don't get to vote on legislation. We don't get to vote and say, hey, I don't want that policy to be passed. That's Congress. So that's the thing I said. Like, they can run and tell, when they're running these campaigns, they can tell you, I'm going to do blah, 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 so that they can win. But once they're in there, there is nothing you can do to make them vote the way that they said that they would. You're basically just hoping that they follow through. And from me and JB's experience, what we have seen is a lot of time they don't follow through. They get captured. So that's my take on that.
Yep. Absolutely. And one thing I do want to share is because I wanted to also get everybody's opinion in regards to Obamacare. I did have everybody, I did put a poll up. Guys, take the poll right now. I'm about to look at the poll because I wanted to get everybody's opinion based on with this story that we talked about in regards to Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. So I want to get you guys' thoughts. So let's take a look here. It says out of 175 votes, says, did the ACA improve your health care? 11% said yes, it improved. 53% said no, it didn't improve. 22% said it made things worse. And then 14% said, I don't know, or not American. So anything about this really surprises you, Sabs?
No, not really. Again, I think at the time people were told that it was going to be cheaper. And like I said, my friend who did like take that chance and say, okay, let me try this instead of my employer health insurance, he said it wasn't cheaper. Right. So, you know, I don't know. Everyone's situation is different, but ultimately it's a band-aid on a wound instead of healing the wound. And you heal that wound by giving everybody health care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Everybody deserves the same gold-plated health care that anybody else has because all life is equally precious. So one person shouldn't have a different level of health care than the next. Everybody should get top-level health care no matter what. That's just the way I see it. All right. So go ahead and give a like to the stream. Thank you so very much to everybody for tuning in for this. This was a great conversation, and I want to have this conversation again in the near future because I think, you know, I don't want the healthcare debate, not even debate, the discussion to fade away because it is absolutely important. Without health, you don't have life. So I think we need to have this conversation as well. Let's get into the chats. I'm going to go really quickly. We're going to go into the Rumble, see if we have any Rumble rants. And if we do, then we'll read those. Okay, so we don't have any Rumble rants, but we'll get into any Rumble chats that may pull up in the interim. Let me see here. So let me go, and I'm going to read the super chats first just because I want to make sure I get to those. So Roger Meadow says, Sab, is the ACA better in Massachusetts since Massachusetts is a precursor to ACA?
I mean, it's means tested. So like that's it, similar situation where you have to be within a certain income bracket in order to even qualify to get it. So that's what I was saying, like everybody doesn't qualify. And then also with the ACA, unfortunately, there's certain doctors that you can't go to, right? So that's how it is.
Gotcha. I got you. All right. So we have Kevin says he did not compromise. He capitulated. This fool never used to use the bully pulpit, and he shouldn't have been expected to. Just another binary shill. Thank you very much for that, Kevin. All right. Let's go to this one from Roger. Thank you for this one. He says Medicaid 138% above poverty line, 150% New York State, but only if your state government allowed. So Alabama, Georgia, Kansas, Mississippi, South Carolina, Tennessee. Let me see. Also, Texas, Wisconsin, Wyoming never expanded. Okay. And then I want to go to Landry said, she said, Dad, why are you always counting your money, not listening? My goodness. Roger says, Obama could have threatened Senator Lieberman with a primary like Trump would do. He got Libby, Montana health care.
Yeah.
Ooh.
They're very hush about it too. In Libby, Montana.
Yep. Mm-hmm. A Carrion brother says, instead of moaning about the problems, we should address the root cause of the problems being ignored. This is why mutual aid is so important. John says, the ACA was a lifesaver for me when I was unemployed, $1 a month. That's an example of it actually helping people, which is good. to see. There are some bright spots, but Paul Green Dennis says he also ended the railroad union strike. Talking about Biden, yeah. And then Chris C says, that's what I do, Sabby. I help my neighbors with their computers or electronics in general. Plus, it helps with building a network of people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually have somebody part of the mutual aid chapter here in Orlando that actually does computer work as well. He works on computers, but he also will sometimes assist people with their electronics. He helped me with my computer, and that's why my computer, works pretty good. Don't let today's show be an identifier of how well my computer works. I think it's just an internet thing, but he actually improved my computer a lot, as mutual aid. So I deeply appreciate it. But yeah, that definitely matters. Now, I think we are finished with all the super chat.
Yeah, so Garland Nixon is going to join me tonight. We're going to talk about Trump's announcement of the CIA, him approving the CIA to go into Venezuela. So I haven't talked about Venezuela in a bit, and there have been some recent updates. So we're going to dive into that. And then I have other news stories.
All right. So, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to give a shout out to the patrons on our way out. But look, guys, do all the things if you got them. Water your plants and water yourselves. Final word, Sabs.
Smoke them if you got them.
She wins. All right, everybody. Take care. Have a great day.